Okay, welcome to Manage My Life 101. This is a life coaching channel, and we're here to help you with all levels of organization, get your life straight, all of that. Today we're going to talk about ego and how it affects your life and those around you, those that have ego and those who don't. Ego is one of the biggest things that I have always focused on, both as a therapist and as a life coach, because you deal with it every day. Through everybody you deal with, everybody has a level of ego, whether they want to admit it or not. I'm your coach, your life coach, Mio. Most people just call me Coach Emmy or Emmy, but we're going to go from there. So first things first, what is ego? The actual definition of ego is a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. The part of the mind that mediates between conscious and unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity, otherwise known as a conscious thinking subject. So the ego lets you do all kinds of stuff. You go to the gym, you work out, you pump yourself up saying, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. That's feeding your ego. That's the right way to do it on a lot of levels, is because the ego helps with your motivation, it helps with your self-esteem, it helps with pretty much everything to get you going and go from there. But on the flip side of that, you have the negative, the extreme negative of, such as suffering from massive bouts of depression. You have, when you get depressed and you start feeling down on yourself, that ego comes in and says you're worthless, you're terrible, you're disgusting, you might as well kill yourself. That's the exact opposite. That's the other side of the coin, as they say, because that's that ego that's the negative side. That's the only way to put it. So then we have the other side too, which mixed in is narcissism. A lot of times, a lot of people that have become celebrities or spokespeople for a lot of the YouTube channels, a lot of commercials, a lot of their own stuff, people kind of label them as narcissistic, and in some ways they are. But for narcissism, the definition of a narcissist is a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. So there's going to be people that are going to come in here and attack me and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. But if you sit back and watch, the prime example of a narcissist is the Kardashian family. It's textbook narcissism, because their show is set up. You look at how they are with the media and everything. They literally, everything is about themselves. There are moments, even narcissists have moments where they're outside and they think about other people too. But, and that's not a bad thing. It's not. So don't just attack me saying, oh, I'm attacking. I'm not. But textbook definition of the narcissist, where they care about excessive interest in themselves. The prime example would be the Kardashians, because it's and most celebrities, most rich and famous, they care about themselves. They're on that narcissist level, to where if they don't focus on themselves, if they're not selfish and do what they have to do to take care of themselves, they can't succeed and grow and do what they're doing. You have to be narcissistic and egotistical on a certain level to keep your motivation up, to focus on yourself, which better focuses on your goals and your priorities, and that takes you to another level, to where you look at Elon Musk, who's in the news all over lately. He's on narcissistic level on a lot of levels. He's a great guy. He's out there trying to help people. But people say, oh no, he's only about himself. On a lot of levels he is. Because if he wasn't about himself, to focus on himself and then focus on his wife and children, If he didn't focus on himself, he wouldn't be worth billions. Bill Gates, if he didn't focus on himself, he wouldn't be worth billions. Warren Beatty, Warren Buffett, the list goes on. You look at these people, the Kardashians, if they didn't focus on themselves going into their Playboy shoots, their magazine shoots, their modeling, doing their business stuff, if they didn't focus on themselves and put that first to be leaders and everything else, and then put everything in order, they wouldn't be successful. If you just put it in a blueprint format, seriously, put it in a blueprint format, just write it down. And there are many, there's hundreds of books about this that tell you this. If you write it down on paper and map it out and just look at this stuff, what you will see and what you will notice is that in almost every single instance, if you follow the textbook definition, every single one of these people was narcissistic and egotistical and had a narcissistic ego, which actually has an actual classification, which is, I'll read it to you, is called narcissistic personality disorder. And what this is one of several types of personality disorders. It's a mental condition in which people have an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a severe lack of empathy for others. I'm sorry, but that's textbook Kardashian. If you haven't been watching their show, hey, that's on you. I watch it every now and then, but I watch it to use it as an example for saying, hey, look, they've gone to an extreme level of what normally should have been there. And they are very successful for it. They're also playing mind games. What's her name? Kylie, I think is her name. Kylie Jenner is the youngest one, or the next to youngest one. A couple years ago, she asked, public said, hey, all my fans, donate money to me because I want to be the youngest self-made billionaire, and people threw money at her. That's manipulation. That's ego. It's a lot of narcissism, and people threw their money at her. And again, I'm not bashing her. I'm just simply saying that this is textbook. Your ego is everything. Depression. Let's talk depression for a moment. Depression can mess you up. Everybody suffers from depression. Everyone. When you wake up in the morning and you don't want to roll out of bed, and it takes you a minute to roll out of bed, stretch, drink your water, go to the bathroom, whatever, you're in a state of depression because your hormones are out of whack, because you went what's called fasting. You went to, let's say, typical, you went to bed 10, 11 o'clock at night. You didn't eat anything, you didn't drink anything an hour or two before you went to bed. So you went to bed at, let's say, 11 o'clock. You get up at 6 to go to work by 8, because you get up at 6 to shower, shave, do all of your stuff. You got to eat, get dressed. Depending on how long of a drive you have to go to get to work, that'd take you 30 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic and all the other stuff. So 2 hours. So from 11, and it takes you 30 minutes to an hour in most cases for most people to be able to relax enough to go to sleep. So let's say midnight. So from midnight to 6 is 6 hours. You've had no food, no water, and your body, if you got proper rest, is in a rested state to where it settled everything to heal properly and absorb the nutrients it needed from all the stuff you've done throughout the day, because the food you eat all day sits in you. Even though you go to the bathroom and have a bowel movement, take a dump, crap, whatever you want to call it, you go in there and do that, you still have food in your body that is digesting, and it can be there for up to 3 days in most cases. Believe it or not, it's true. It can sit in your gut for up to 3 days. So even when you have that bout of diarrhea, you still have stuff in your system that's been sitting there and is still trying to digest. So you're in a state of depression because your hormones and everything are out of balance. They're out of whack. Your body is reacting to that. What happens most of the time is you wake up, your body starts reacting, your hormones start kicking in because now you're actually moving. Now you're actually moving around. So now everything starts working properly again. So now you can get up, you can go to the bathroom, you can drink your water, your juice, eat your breakfast, whatever it is you do in the morning. And suddenly you're in a cheery mood. Most people, they get their routine. It doesn't matter if you work a night shift and you're waking up at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, that's your morning. When you wake up, you say you're not a morning person, but a lot of people, once you get moving, suddenly you're in a more cheerful mood most of the time. You got food in you, coffee, water, whatever. Your hormones are balanced. You've fought off the depression. Now, there are instances to where if you are overweight, that makes it much harder. There are instances to where you really legitimately do need to have medication to fight off the depression. I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is that everybody suffers from depression. Everybody. But not everybody needs medication. So assuming that the only way to get over the stuff is to say, oh, you're just depressed, oh, quit feeling sorry for yourself, get over it, eat better, exercise, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not always the case. It's not. Because you don't know what's going on with that person. You don't know what their life is. You don't know their diet. You don't know the chemical situation with them. They may be suffering from PTSD from losing a loved one. Yes, that is a real thing. If you lose your mother, if your mother or father passes away and you were very close to them, that is a form of PTSD. And it mentally messes with you. Post-traumatic stress. That's what it is. It's very traumatizing. If I lost my mother right now, I really don't know how I would react. If I'm not very close to my father, but if I lost my father, I really don't know how I would react because it's a bad situation. I really do love my parents. Doesn't matter how close I am to them or not. I was never abused. I never had any of that stuff happen on that level. Although I'm 45 years old, so a lot of the stuff I grew up with in the 70s and 80s, nowadays, and here it is 2021, a lot of the stuff in the last 10 years with how they've changed things, if I wasn't home by the time the lights came on for the street lights, and my dad took a belt to my butt and gave me 4 or 5 swats with the way he did, that would be classified as abuse a lot of times today. I'm not arguing any of that. That's a totally different subject for another time. But what I'm saying is if you're attacking people because you feel the only way to get over depression is, oh, you're not eating right and all that, you're wrong. That feeds into your ego. Now, when you wake up and if you're one of those that deals with, and my son deals with depression, and he's on medicine because he needs it. We've already figured that out. It took me a long time, but we figured it out. If you're one of those people that needs the medication, then that's your ego mixed in there as well. Because if you recognize the symptoms, you have your times where you just start spiraling into depression and it gets worse and worse, and you always have that voice in the back of your head that's saying, oh, you're worthless, you're horrible, you can't do anything right, everybody hates you, blah, blah, blah. That is your ego. That is that sense of ego in the back of your mind that is coming at you. That is the same exact voice that when you are riding on top of the world that says you are the greatest, you're the awesomest, you can punch 500 tons like the Hulk, all of this stuff. That's the other side. That's the positive side of your ego. Your brain is the greatest, most powerful, most influential mechanism in the world. But it's also the most devastating and the most deadly because it'll mess you up on every level if you let it. And that's what we're trying to do in this channel, as I have several degrees in several fields, And what we're doing at Manage My Life is trying to take it from a different approach, to keep you positive, give you some information so that you can adapt that information to suit your situation, so that you can move forward, be more successful, and in essence, basically reprogram your way of thinking to be much more positive. In some cases, you may be able to get past it and no longer need medication on a lot of levels. I've seen that happen because a lot of people, it's strictly their environment. Again, not everybody, but it is proven fact that you are a victim of your environment. So you have people that will come in and everybody around them, from their parents to their loved ones to all of the friends they associate with, everything is so negative on so many levels, to where if you say, I'm going to go try that, and suddenly all the negative, you can't do that, why you want to do that, no, that's horrible, you suck at that, don't do that. That's the negativity around you. You have to find a way to get around it. I have stuff on the Manage My Life 101 Facebook page that has, we discussed this, where it went over, I want to say a 3-week period, posting every other day or so. Actually, I think it went a month long. I have to double check, but there are all kinds of posts in there running through a semi-program that I'm turning into an ebook to help for those that don't want to participate in the group or whatever, that walks you through how to identify the different parts in your life, to identify the negativity and the positivity. There are some circumstances where that may be your mom who's the most negative person around you. It happens. It may be your father. It may be a brother. It may be your spouse, but you love them. So you have to find a way to deal with their negativity and their toxic skills, that everything is being thrown at you, all that toxicity, all that negativity. It helps you walk through that so that you can find ways to deal with it, because obviously 9 times out of 10 you can't just cut your mother and father off, you can't cut your spouse off, but what you have to do is find a way to bring them around to your way of thinking. Some of the most successful couples in the world, and they post on Facebook all the time, they post on Instagram, TikTok, some of the most successful couples in the world started off out of shape, obese, they had a lot of bad stuff around them, bad eating habits, they had a lot of negativity from people around them, and they may have been negative towards each other, thinking, oh, it's cool to be negative towards each other. I just watched a show on Amazon the other day, I forget the name of it, but basically the husband and wife they couldn't say I love you. It was, he told her in this one scene, he said, do you remember me? Do you really remember me? Do you remember what I said to you that night on the stairs? And she said, yeah, I hate you, you MFer. And then they kissed, had a passionate night, and their son was born 9 months later. But their whole thing was being negative towards each other like that. They could not say I love you. It was I hate you, you're crazy, you're psycho. There's a lot of programming that goes on like that people see. I have an aunt and uncle who passed away several years ago that was how they talked to each other. There was never, oh, I love you. It was, you crazy psycho, come here and give me a kiss. You asshole, come here and give me a kiss. There was never, I love you. There are a lot of families that are raised this way. There's a lot of single parent broken households where the children should be the number one priority, and they should be, just because you and that person can't get along anymore does not give you the right to turn your children into pawns to get back at each other. And I see it all the time. And I have people that tell me I'm full of crap and attack me saying I don't know what I'm talking about. And yet, as a relationship counselor, as a life coach, I deal with stuff like that all the time. I'm a victim of that, where my ex-wife used my son against me on many levels. In fact, she turned around and conned her, and her mother didn't like me and conned me into signing away my rights. I was 19 and stupid. I didn't read the paperwork. I thought they were just, everything sounded all right. She said, we're doing it for insurance. You have to sign, giving me temporary permission so that I can put him under my insurance because you're the father, she's the mother, she's already signed. 2 weeks later, I found out I'd signed away my rights. My name's on the birth certificate, but they can never come after me for child support, and they can never, I have no say in that child's life whatsoever. My son is now 24 years old. I have not physically seen him since he was 10. I'm a victim of it. He sees my parents all the time because that's grandma and grandpa. They all live in the same town. But they constantly tell me that they have been correcting things for the last 10, 12 years because his mother and his grandmother keep telling him that I'm worthless, I'm stupid, I have nothing going for me, and I abandoned him and everything. And they constantly show him the paperwork because he is autistic and he has some mental issues because of some stuff that happened while I was out of the picture. And they constantly show him that that she's wrong. I send money, I send gifts, everything. But as far as they're concerned, I'm a bad person. This happens all the time. This is the type of stuff that should not be happening. You should be coming together to take care of the child. You came together and had a child together. You should be working together. It doesn't matter if you don't like each other and you don't get along. You should be coming together to do everything possible to raise that child the right way possible. And people don't do that because now it's a pawn instead of your child. She is a pawn instead of your child. And now that pawn is being used to get back at that person that you feel hurts you on a lot of levels. So now your ego has come into play. Your narcissism has come into play. And you're listening to all the outside sources that have no business talking to you. I hear it a lot. My wife suffered from this too, and I've been married 21, almost 22 years now with 4 wonderful children with this woman. And she had a time where she had some people she thought were her friends. And I'm the type of person, old-fashioned, to where just let me know where you're going. Because if something happens, if the truck breaks down or something, I know how to get to you to help you. I never said you couldn't go out. I let her go do what she wants. She just doesn't because most people, it's hard to trust them. Because it's always the negative. You let him talk to you that way, if you were privy to some of the conversations between me and her, it would blow your mind. You let him talk to you that way, you let him control you. I'm not controlling anything that woman does. The reality that most people ignore, especially women on a lot of levels, and I see this again in relationship counseling, and I see this all the time. You personally may not do this, but I see it all the time. All my wife has to do, 21, almost 22 years, all my wife has to do is get mad at me one time, call the police on me and say, he hit me, he's abusing me, my life is over. End of story. My life is over. That's just the way the system is built. A man calls and says, she's abusing me. They get there and see him. They're not going to take him seriously. They don't. Have you ever watched the show Cops? It's on YouTube. Go watch it. It's on Netflix, if I remember correctly. You have so many different platforms. Go watch it and look up the domestic dispute stuff on there. And look at that and watch how the woman controls them. And then when you do the research, you find out that the woman lied. There's people that are being released from prison all the time that the woman lied and said, oh, he raped me. He tried to rape me. They're going to prison because it was he said, she said, and what little bit of evidence was there was her, and she had a better lawyer with all of that and was able to sway the jury. And you have a guy going to jail, to prison, for 8, 10, 12 years who did nothing but break up with her because she was crazy or whatever, or he somehow made her mad because he didn't get her her favorite teddy bear or that purse or whatever because he didn't have the money. I've heard a lot of stupid ones watching court TV and looking at the court files of stuff like this. If you do your research on it, it would blow your mind when the truth comes out of the stupidest things there. One of the most famous cases in history was, I forget the name of him, but the guy was a black guy, and all he did was help the woman with her packages. And her husband or fiance or whatever had a cow, and she said, he raped me, or he tried to rape me. And that man went to prison, and they lynched him and killed him because he was a black man accused by a white woman. And then later on, the truth came out that she lied because she was scared, and a man lost his life. But if you can't admit that, if you can't recognize that, that is the reality, and there's some issues there. You need to take a long look at yourself in the mirror. This all goes back to ego and narcissism. It all goes back to that. Your ego controls everything you do. The level of narcissism you have in yourself, and everybody has it. Everybody has a level of narcissism to themselves. Listen to the definition. Read it. Study it. Look in the mirror, because you can't lie to yourself. You lie to yourself, you're only being stupid. That's all there is to it. You can't lie to yourself on that level. Think back of all the things you've done, and under the very definition of ego and narcissism, everybody is egotistical on some level. Everybody is a narcissist on some level. And in order to be successful, to be happy, and to achieve your goals, to make a happy, healthy life and have lots of money and do everything you want to do in life to have a happy life, you have to be able to control that ego and control that narcissism. You have to. Because if you don't, it's going to control you. You have anger issues, that's your ego getting to you. It is. It's your ego. You care about yourself and you let something get to you. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong. There are instances to where, you know, if there's a wrongful death or your child gets hurt or something, it's right to be angry. It's fine. It's healthy to be angry and to be upset. But to let that anger control you is ego, and that's a weak mind. And it's not easy, but it's not hard. The process is very easy. It really is. But it's a lot of work, which is why a lot of people give up. The process is very easy to reprogram yourself to control your ego, to control your narcissism, and rein everything in. How do you do it? You got to make it a habit. It doesn't matter if you have to go to the dollar store and get a pack of Post-it notes and write on there every day and put those Post-it notes all over your house. I have a client that did that. She literally had memory problems because of an accident. She plastered her house, and she asked me to come help her, and I did. She plastered her house with Post-it notes. We went through, I think, 3,000 Post-it notes, if I remember correctly, upon final count, all over her house. Things from when she woke up in the morning, they were on her phone, they were on the side table lamp, she went to the bathroom, they were on the door, they were on the window, they were on the mirror. When she sat down to use the toilet, they were on the wall right in front of her. When she sat down at the table, depending on which of the 4 chairs she used, they were on the chairs, they were on the walls, they were in the kitchen on many levels. Post-it notes everywhere, always positive, always reinforcing to keep her habits going. This is an extreme example. Most people don't need to go that level, but she did it. She pulled herself out of a very bad situation. She got a much better job. She started retaining knowledge more. because she was focused on her goals of getting a better job, which means she had to do a certain level of education to up her education. So many things happened because she simply changed her way of thinking on how to do things. Most, not all, most people can do this. Most people can reprogram their brain. Most people can rein in their ego and their narcissism, flip it the way it needs to be instead of being so negative, make it positive. Most people can do all of that. I see it all the time. It's possible. You just have to do it. I'm not judging anybody. This is simply a discussion to tell you about these things, because most people don't even think about it on this level, this depth of level, about how things are controlling you, about how your brain is messing things up for you. If you sit there to go take a test and you let your thoughts get the better of you, you're going to fail 9 times out of 10. Most cases of anxiety, again, most, I did not say all, most, just like with depression, most cases of anxiety is the negative aspect of your ego convincing you to be nervous, convincing you you're not good enough, convincing you that you're a failure and everything else. Add in all the other people around you in your environment, and it all adds up. It all takes effect. The greatest athletes in the world will tell you the biggest key to their success was not their skill or their athletic ability. It was how well they could talk trash and get inside their opponent's head. If you get in their head, you've won the battle and you control them. And you can do whatever you want. That's just the way it goes. So you have to, I'm not saying you have to go out and become a trash talker or anything like that. I'm saying you need to learn how to harness your mind. On the Facebook page, I don't know if I'm going to leave it as a straight page or if I'm going to turn it into an actual group or if I'm just going to start a separate group. I'm still in the process of that. I am going to have the ebook up hopefully here in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to post some other links to some other books that I think will be fantastic to help people on this with understanding their ego and stuff for those that are interested. Check back later because I will I'm just starting this channel up, so I'm going to have a couple of brief intro whatever down here on the bottom, but I'm going to also add I'll come in later on, edit, and put the actual links in there for some of these books. An Amazon link, or I'm not sponsored by anybody, so when I share these, I'm sharing them just to share. There's only so much I can do there. So again, I'm not sponsored. I'm going to I'll edit this later, put some links in there for some of these books that I feel are great books that I've pointed out in the past that help you deal with some of this stuff. Hopefully you get a lot of info out of this. I know it ran for like 30 minutes. There's a lot of info in here with discussions, examples. That everybody's understanding is different. Everybody's level of understanding is different. So I try and put as much info there as possible. If it seems drawn out to you, I apologize. But just remember there are other people out here that it may take all of this to fully comprehend what's going on. And that's not a bad thing. Everybody learns at a different pace. Everybody has understanding at different levels. As the old adage is, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. There's 1,000,000 ways to do something. Just because your one way works doesn't mean that it's the only way. There are other ways that work as well, 9 times out of 10. So the purpose of this is to build the community, to be as positive as possible, to help support each other as much as possible. As they say, it takes a village. to help and support each other, because everybody at some point in their life falls down, needs help, and even if it's just simple words of encouragement, it works. I hear stories all the time of people that got so down on their luck that they were seriously contemplating suicide, and they woke up that day and it was just a total shit day, and they ran into someone that they cared about who just totally righted their world with just spending a little bit of time with them, telling them they loved them, telling them they were their friend. It all comes in, and it totally changed their perspective and kept them from committing suicide. And now they've gone on with some other stuff to get control of their life like this. And that's what this community is about. This is what this channel is about. This is also what the Facebook community and everything I'm trying to build. I will have other people in here. I'm working on a podcast with all of this, to just put everything together so that we can all, I'm trying to help as many people as possible, because there's a lot of people out there that don't get the help they need because they truly feel they can't ever get out of where they're at. And just a simple thought process change makes all the difference in the world. A simple little bit of a guiding light from someone stepping in and being that positive influence to them makes all the difference in the world, because it shines through like a lighthouse from all of the negativity that's around them. And I'm trying to build that, because the world is a very, very, very negative place right now. And it saddens me, especially with my children, because they're all teenagers now. My youngest is 15, fixing to be 16. She's wanting to get a job and get out there, and just the stuff I see, especially because of what happened with COVID and what's going on with other things like Israel right now, which has been going on off and on for generations. It's very disheartening and very scary, and I'm trying to find the positive to help them find the positive, so that people can be successful and happy and not struggle as much. So leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I'm going to try and post every Friday. I may post a couple others extra here and there. I'm trying to get some more content up here as fast as possible. Y'all bear with me. Hopefully I'll get to the point to where I'm posting 2 or 3 times a week between my fitness side and my personal journey, as well as more of this with the actual manage my life stuff. So y'all have a blessed day, and peace out.